Doctor news. Let's do it.
Okay, so now
we did a video on it.
Yeah,
nearly 3,000 of you watched it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's been one of our best videos in a while.
That's what topped us over the 500.
Yeah, but now it's time. We've been kind of keeping things low energy, but now I'm going to hike it up because Russell T Davies is
dead.
Back. What?
Didn't you hear?
What?
He died. For the purpose of the podcast, Harry is now doing visual jokes. Where he pretends to check his phone. Russell's back.
Yeah, it's been... How has it been since the news came out? For us...
2-3 days, something like that.
2-3 days, and it still doesn't quite compute.
It doesn't. Did you see Russell took a picture of himself with a Dalek in his back garden and
put
day one? And I was like, this is so exciting.
It's so weird. It still hasn't computed. I think I've woken up the day after, and I was half expecting all evidence of it to have been erased, and it was just a weird fever dream. But no, Russell T Davies is coming back to be showrunner. And the thing that's crazy, we're gonna get a centenary special, and then we're gonna get a 60th anniversary special. That's 2 feature-length specials back to back.
Well, no, because the 60th will be 2023, and the centenary is next year.
Yeah, but still, those will be there's not going to be any Doctor Who in between that. Yeah. We'll go from one special to another special, and to a series.
So we're going to talk about speculation for the 60th.
Yeah,
because we did a video on it, and if you guys want to sort of get our general reactions to the whole thing of Russell returning, definitely go and watch that, because it's just 2 guys being excited for 20 minutes.
Yeah, my voice gets really high pitched at one point.
But yeah, we're going to talk about series 14, and the 60th one we're sort of expecting from this.
So let's start with the 60th.
Okay, my question for you about the 60th is that they obviously must be, if it's day one, they're currently working on a cast. That must be one of the first things you do, is you want to cast the Doctor, as well as writing. But because I think that must come first, because if they're already wrapping up with the centenary special, they want to film that regeneration.
But here's the thing, because we know
if we're even going to get to see that.
Because Jodie's last episode is that she's contracted to do is the centenary special, correct?
Yeah.
So we're assuming that she will be regenerating in that, but I don't know, because my question: are we going to see the 14th Doctor in the 60th? I'm not sure we are, because that seems like really throwing a new Doctor in the deep end for them to be in a 60th, probably a crossover with other Doctors. It seems like a lot to take on.
So I think we will see the 14th Doctor in the 60th anniversary special. But from what you've just said there makes me think, will there be a crossover with Jodie in that? Will we see Jodie regenerate in the 60th? Because there was rumours this week that the centenary special is sort of left open-ended and it doesn't end with a regeneration.
I've heard that as well.
Which makes me think that maybe Russell's going to come in and write Jodie's last scenes. Maybe that episode opens with a regeneration. But then the fact that we're getting Bradley Walsh return makes me question that again.
Yeah, I don't know. In my mind, this is what makes the most sense to me. But as soon as I say it, I realize it doesn't make any sense. I think the centenary special will end open-ended, and we won't have Jodie regenerate in that. Or if she does regenerate, we won't then have the first scene of the 14th Doctor within it.
Okay.
The 60th, I don't think we'll have Jodie or the 14th Doctor. I think it could potentially be all legacy Doctors.
Okay.
Like a pure legacy Doctors thing.
I don't think they will.
You don't?
No.
Because I just fear that...
You go through what you think for the 60th, and I won't interrupt you. And then I'll go through what I think.
I can't see Jodie being in it, because Jodie has kind of said that she came into this with Chris and she's leaving it with Chris Chibnall. So I can't see her in the 60th if that's a Russell helm thing. And also, I just don't think it would be a wise move to put the 14th Doctor in the 60th as their debut, because they'll be immediately outshadowed by any returning classic characters, including presumably new Doctors.
Yeah.
Unless the 60th doesn't have any new Doctors and it's just a big introduction to the 14th Doctor. But that seems like a very weird way to introduce a new Doctor.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be legacy Doctors.
Okay, so here's what I think for the 60th is I think the 60th will be the first adventure of a new Doctor. Whether or not you see the regeneration or not between Jodie, I don't know. I think it's likely it will include some past Doctors who are perhaps trying to help this future version of Doctor out of perhaps a tricky regeneration. Perhaps this new Doctor has forgotten that they're the Doctor and they need reminding, and they are helped by that by past Doctors.
That's a smart way to do it. So
past Doctors come in, and through visiting various past Doctors, this 14th Doctor is reminded of who they are.
Okay, so it's not really an introduction to the 14th Doctor because it's going to be a post-regeneration story as well, where the Doctor's not completely themselves.
Yeah, if you look at the only post-regeneration story we have from Russell, which is Christmas Invasion, David spends half the time in bed, and then at the end he's the Doctor. So I feel like we're going to possibly get something like that, not where he's in bed, but where the 14th Doctor is. 14th Doctor is maybe slightly quirky. They don't know who they are yet. They're a bit off the wall or whatever. And I know you're not a big fan of stuff like that, where they're trying to find out who they are.
Yeah,
I feel if you were to then partner that with, hypothetically, Matt Smith and Colin Baker and Sylvester and David, whoever, right? That would then work quite well because you would have the familiarity of past Doctors sort of maybe introducing new viewers going, it's okay, I'm here. It's all going to be okay, sort of thing, with this new guy.
Okay.
Or girl or whatever.
I could see that working.
Because if you don't do a multi-Doctor thing for the 60th, it is a shame. Because it's the only time I can sort of really warrant it. Is I liked Twice Upon a Time. I thought it was an amazing episode. But I sort of go, oh, you could have saved that idea. Do you know what I mean? For something else.
Yeah.
The fact that the first Doctor's in it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
It's sort of just a nice thing for fans. Almost.
Well, that's the thing for me. That's the thing, Myra, because that was Twice Upon a Time was predominantly Capaldi's last story. And like you said, the first Doctor being that was nice, but it was kind of overshadowed by the fact that it was Capaldi's last story. Yeah. And I worry that a 60th being the introduction for 14th Doctor would be a similar deal, where seeing these other Doctors would be nice, but that won't be what the audience is paying attention to, because they're paying way more attention to this new Doctor and breaking them down. Yeah,
I guess so. But then I feel like past Doctors, I'm just saying David, because Tennant at the moment is probably the most likely candidate to be returning.
Yeah.
He's already said he's up for it, and it's Russell.
Yeah.
He is Russell's Doctor, let's be honest. So, but I feel those actors are sensible enough to know that fans will be excited to see the return of 10, but they also know that the importance of that episode isn't actually their return. It's to make sure that whoever the new person is gets the attention.
But I don't know if that should be the purpose of a 60th. I don't think the purpose of a 60th anniversary celebration should be to prepare people for what's next. It should be to celebrate the legacy of the show.
And I think you can do that by bringing back past Doctors, but then when you watch it, you will go, the hero of that was whoever the new Doctor is, Ollie.
Yeah. That's it. I just because the thing is, we talk about we'll get
when we get into series 13.
Yeah, when we 14.
It's series 14 and the 14th Doctor. It's a very strange coincidence.
It is very strange. And I'll say what I was about to say when we say that. Is there anything else you want to say about Spectration of the 60th? Who do you think is going to come back for it?
David, Matt, hopefully Chris, not Peter.
Yeah. I don't know. Peter's definitely not, because he's said he thinks that there's an oversaturation of multi-Doctor stories.
But then again, the one thing I think we're overlooking is that this is Russell. And we didn't think Russell was going to return. So what's the point of speculating who is and who isn't?
Well, that's the thing. Like, we do all this speculation, but we know now that it's just all completely in vain.
A Russell T Davies anniversary special is going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And whatever you think it's going to be, it won't. It will be better.
That's the thing, because our understanding of Russell T Davies and Doctor Who is from 12 years ago.
Yeah.
The world has changed. Russell's changed. This is going to be a distinctly different feeling show to it was back then.
I hope it is a multi-Doctor episode, because I look forward to seeing how Russell writes for former Doctors.
Yeah.
because when Stephen wrote for David, Stephen had wrote for the 10th Doctor before, but there is a definite character. Something isn't quite right in the 50th with David's Doctor, I think. And I'm not sure what it is. And maybe it's just because he's had time out of it. Or maybe it's because it's an anniversary special, so they try and get all the lines in. He says Alonzi, he says timey-wimey.
It's very weird to say he had time out, because if you think about it, between David leaving and being in...
Like 4 years, wasn't it?
It's 3-4 years. Yeah. It's been way more time now since David's been the Doctor.
Yeah, it's true, actually. But you know what I mean? There was something not quite there, but it was amazing. I'm not slating that performance or anything. It was unquestionably the 10th Doctor.
The hair was wrong.
Possibly. But do you know what I mean? So, and Russell's wrote for Matt Smith on the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yes, and that's interesting that I hope we get to see Matt Smith at least in this 60th, written by Russell, because that's just an interesting thing to see Russell writing for a Doctor who didn't even exist when he did the show. Yeah.
And I would love that, and you know, fingers tightly crossed for Chris, because that would be... I
mean...
I just want to say, right, 3 days ago, we lost our shit over the fact Russell was returning. I think that's the second time I've ever got on the phone to you and said you have to podcast.
The first time was...
Jodie leaving.
No, it was... you got on the phone for me when Chris came back to Big Finish.
So 3 times then?
Yeah.
So when Chris returned for Big Finish, which was the day after we set up the podcast... Jodie leaving and the return of Russell. And I think, can you imagine how exciting it will be if they say Christopher Eccleston is returning for a Russell T Davies 60th anniversary special?
And I feel like this could be an opportunity. I know there's history, history that's been discussed quite openly.
Yeah.
But kind of Chris said that the thing that he would want is an apology from
the BBC.
Yeah, and he by name referred to both Julie Gardner and Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Both of them are coming back to the show now. So they're kind of in a prime position to
sort that out.
Yeah. To extend a hand and to patch things up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're close. We're very close to that happening. That feels very tangible.
And I'm not doubting anything anymore. I feel like we can speculate everything, and at the end of every speculation, I'm going to go, but we don't know anything because Russell returned.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
That's it. That's the trump card. Like, the thing we never thought was going to ever happen has happened.
But like 2 weeks ago, I was going, they're going to cancel it.
That's what we said. Like, literally, the episode before this one, we said, I feel like the show might take a break.
Yeah.
Maybe the show needs a break, but it's not having a break. It's keeping going with full force, which is absolutely insane.
Should we go on to series 13?
Yes, 14.
Goodness sake. Series 14.
Yeah, but before that, should we talk about...
another play you're in?
No, the 14th Doctor.
Okay, yeah, let's start with who... Okay, so joking aside, Ollie Alexander is possibly the most obvious choice.
Yeah. The whole time we're talking about the 60th,
it's Ollie in my mind.
Every time you refer to the 14th Doctor, immediately in my mind, Ollie Alexander was the face I saw.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. If I don't know if you've seen have you seen It's a Sin?
Yeah, we spoke about it.
Oh, we did, yeah. I mean, we both agree that Ollie is an incredible actor and he has what it takes. Russell's spoken openly in favour of him. He can do that now. It just makes too much sense. And Russell, back when he did it back in 2005 to 2009, the two people he picked as leads for the Doctor were people who had been leads in shows he'd done before. Christopher Eccleston was the lead in The Second Coming, which Russell wrote, and David Tennant was the lead in Casanova, which Russell wrote. So Ollie was the lead of the last show that Russell did, It's a Sin. So it would just
any one of those guys from It's a Sin really could be in with the champions.
Yeah, that's another name.
Who is it? Who plays? Who's the main female lead?
Lydia West. Yeah. Lydia West is another name which I've heard, and she was in Years and Years as well.
Yes.
The TV show, not Ollie Alexander's music projects.
Yeah.
And she as well. I think she has what it takes.
Yeah.
Lots of people have actually been saying they want Ollie and Lydia as a Doctor companion, either or.
I like that, but I feel it's too obvious.
I think it's too obvious. I don't think they're both going.
I would maybe be annoyed by that because he's sort of then limiting other people who could do it. If you're just going to pick from a pool of whoever you've met with before. That said, you just reminded me then. Russell in the past has picked the leading actor of whatever his last project was. So I'm going to throw the name to you, Ben Whishaw, A Very English Scandal.
Okay, that's interesting.
Often a fan favourite that is thrown around a lot.
Yeah, I remember he was very popular, like when it came to the 13th Doctor speculation.
A name that is big enough for the show, but maybe not too big.
The voice of Paddington there.
Exactly. And
Q from James Bond.
I was talking to a friend on the phone the other day, and I was saying the fact that Russell, because we've often said on the podcast, you get names thrown around and we often go, too big for the show. But I would say because Russell is bigger than Doctor Who now.
I'd say that's true.
That we can now actually get lead actors into the show who are often disregarded because they are too big.
Yeah, Russell has that kind of draw.
Maybe not someone like Helena Bonham Carter or what's his name who plays Luther?
Oh,
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean people like that, but like people like Ben Whishaw is a real possibility and stuff like that.
What do you think of the possibility of casting like for a one-off series, like an A-lister?
Like we spoke about this in the past, haven't we? I think.
Yeah.
We've sort of gone like get Rowan Atkinson or someone for like one series.
I think you could get someone bigger than Rowan Atkinson.
Oh yeah, especially with a one-off Doctor Who series with Helena Bonham Carter would be amazing because she just like the Doctor. Like I see her in interviews and stuff, and like the way she dresses, it just be amazing. But Lydia West now might be my favourite. Now that you've said it,
do you think Lydia West? Do you prefer to see her over Ollie?
I think so, yeah. Because I generally think it should be a woman. I think it should continue like that.
I think
because I feel like if you go back to a dude, it doesn't say it didn't work because it did. But I feel like from an outsider speculation, you would sort of go from someone who isn't really into the show, you go, oh, they've gone back to a guy. Because the one thing everybody knows about Doctor Who at the moment is that it's played by a woman. That's what everybody knows. So I feel like if you were to go back to a guy, people would sort of go, oh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The female experiment, that bollocks. But I feel it should be a woman, and I think Lydia West would be great.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming that Russell will stay on for long enough to see two Doctors through.
Yeah.
Like, we can't guarantee that because obviously Russell's very in demand.
Yeah.
It might be that this is a really short tenure for him. I hope not.
Yeah.
But
I would be happy if his tenure is exactly the same as what it was before.
Another 4 series.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be incredible.
That would be quite long.
That would bring his total up to 8 series, which would make him the longest serving showrunner again.
Hooray.
Longer than Moffat. But anyway, assuming that Russell were to stay to do another 2 Doctors and see another 2 Doctors through, I wouldn't be. I think at least one of those 2 Doctors would be a woman.
Yeah. I would be very surprised with Russell's track record of Queer as Folk, Cucumber, a Very British Scandal, It's a Sin, years and years. If he goes back to a white straight dude, I would be so surprised because Russell is so passionate about promoting difference and, what isn't seen, I'm doing quotation marks here, a social norm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it is important that with Russell at the helm, because you are going to bring in that whole community of LGBT plus people who are going to come and watch the show now that Russell's attached to it. So why not put somebody who isn't just a white bloke, a white straight guy in the lead?
I mean, in my mind, I wouldn't be surprised if, say, 14 was Ollie and then 15 was Lydia.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very realistic thing to happen, especially with Russell at the helm.
Yeah. Like I keep saying, I keep seeing comments on some of our videos where it's like, can't be Ollie, he doesn't look like the Doctor. And I'm like, the fuck does that mean? How can you not look like Doctor Who? Because it looks like anybody. Yeah,
I remember you mentioning this to me, and
I get it to an extent because everybody who's played the Doctor, they have a slight quirk about them. And I think maybe they're suggesting that Ollie doesn't have that slight quirkiness look about him.
What are you talking about? Ollie's really interesting.
Exactly, this is what I mean, right?
Like Ollie's style, Ollie doesn't have like a... I think the only thing the Doctor can't be is too conventional. Like some people, is it Tom Ellis who plays Lucifer?
Yeah.
I think sometimes...
who did I mean? I meant Luther.
Yeah.
When I said Idris Elba, I think I said Lucifer. Yeah.
But Tom Ellis to play Lucifer. Some people throw his name around, and for me, I think he's always
too Hollywood handsome.
So, yeah, he's too conventionally handsome too. I know we've had like David Tennant and etc.
But David Tennant is British handsome.
And he's kind of he had the kind of nerdy niche thing going on. Whereas Tom Ellis is a very handsome man. I think that for me can't be the Doctor.
He'd be a great master.
Yeah. But for me, that can't be the Doctor because it's too just kind of straight-laced, too conventional. The Doctor needs to be a little bit unconventional.
Yeah.
And I think, Ollie's a very interesting-looking person. I don't mean that in any kind of disparaging way.
But no, it's because you look like...
Ollie's really interesting to watch.
Whenever I get photos of Ollie for thumbnails and stuff, like, his fashion sense is batshit off the wall crazy, and I love it. And I think maybe that could scare people off a little bit who aren't familiar with him. And I totally understand it. I can understand why people... All right, I've got to be so careful what I say, because there is people who just don't want him to be the Doctor because he's gay or whatever, because he's not a straight white dude. And there's the same people who won't like the fact that Jodie Whittaker's there because she's a woman. But I also understand that there might be people who sort of look at what Ollie wears on his tours and stuff and sort of worry that that's where Doctor Who's going to go. Like that sort of Nesh t-shirt sort of thing. And I would be heavenly so surprised if that's what happens.
Hasn't Doctor Who always been super camp and colourful though?
Yeah, but
look at Colin Baker's.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly right. But I feel like you just so got to trust in Russell. Like Christopher Eccleston just wore a leather jacket. Do you know what I mean?
That's interesting because I think Ollie in a lot of ways actually reminds me of Christopher.
Okay.
Like I don't think Ollie or Chris are, if on first appearance, what you would describe as, say, just like a conventionally, in the Tom Ellis conventionally attractive facial structure, yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then you watch them perform, and like Chris performed with such a magnetism and just a charisma, and you just can't look away when he's performing. And it's a really kind of beautiful thing that just really comes alive. And I think Ollie has that as well.
I'm just going to, for the purpose of the podcast, I'm going to just to back up what I just said a minute ago about outfits and stuff like that. As I think people, I'm showing Harry a picture on my phone. So I think people Google Ollie and they see him wearing outfits like this.
Yeah.
And then go, that's not what Doctor Who would wear.
Sure it is. The Doctor would totally wear that.
It is, but I don't think that's what would be fronted on the series.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have a problem with it myself, but I can understand why it would maybe fear some certain people off. Do you know what I mean? So Lydia West for me, Ollie for you.
I'd say so. I think they'll both. I can see them both being a Doctor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a bit more about Series 13. I've got some notes here. What if I run through these notes and you just tell me what you think?
Okay.
I think there's going to be spin-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that before.
We did. That it makes sense. Russell's already talked about wanting to expand Doctor Who into a big media empire.
We spoke about the possible return of Murray Gold.
I think that's inevitable. Murray's worked on pretty much all of Russell's TV shows.
Yeah.
I think that just goes without saying that Murray Gold will be back.
Ertin Lind's return as directed Two from Corner, Runaway Bride, and a number of other Russell episodes. Yeah,
that makes sense. Who directed It's a Sin? Because I believe they worked on Doctor Who as well.
Peter Horer directed It's a Sin.
Has he directed Doctor Who as well, hasn't he?
I'm not sure. I'll have a quick look whilst you talk.
Yeah, because I believe... Because I know there are a lot of people who we've talked about with the Bad Wolf production team that were originally or did work on Russell's era of Doctor Who. So I imagine all of them will pretty much be returning.
He's only directed one episode of Doctor Who. It's A Good Man Goes to War.
Oh, right. Interesting.
And the other thing I've got is with Russell returning as showrunner and head writer is that there's a he's not going to write every episode he never did.
Yes.
Are we going to see some past writers return, i.e. Paul Cornell, Stephen Moffat?
I think Stephen Moffat will be returning as a writer. I would be
so surprised if he doesn't get asked.
Yeah, because the thing is...
there's an interview where an interviewer asked, do you come up with Doctor Who ideas? And it's Stephen and Russell both stood there. And Stephen's like, yeah, all the time. I always come up with Doctor Who ideas, but this is when they've both left the show.
Yeah.
And Russell's like, no.
Don't
think about it anymore.
That's the thing. I really wholeheartedly do think Moffat will come back. Moffat, in another different interview, said that if he would have been perfectly happy staying working under Russell as showrunner and just writing an episode every year.
Yeah.
He found that joyous. He loved that. I think he kind of enjoyed doing that more so than being showrunner.
Yeah, you can see why.
I think like everyone from that period, Paul Cornell, Stephen Moffat, Mark Gatiss, I think we'll be seeing a lot of their faces, or at least their names and writing credits, coming back to write the show. I think there'll be some other people in modern British TV. I imagine I'd really like to see Jack Thorne write an episode of Doctor Who.
Didn't he do that BBC drama?
He did Help on Channel 4 recently.
Oh, was that the Jodie Comer?
Yeah,
that was good. Yeah.
And he's done a lot of other things. He did I don't know where to begin with the things Jack Thorne has done. But I know that Russell's a big fan of his work, so I think it'd be cool to see someone like him write an episode as well. Do you think there'll be any people from the Chibnall era who might be brought back?
I would be surprised if they didn't bring some of them back. Who was the guy who we speculated could be showrunner who wrote Kablam? Let me have a look for his name.
Oh, yeah. And also, I know I really loved Haunting of Villa Diodati by Maxine Alderton, and lots of people kind of held that as one of the best of the Chibnall era. Yeah. So I think it'd be cool to see her come back as well.
Yeah, Peter McTighe.
Oh, yeah, him.
Yeah. Peter McTighe.
Yeah.
McTighe.
Well, I think now it's especially if things are given. Once you're part of the Doctor Who family, you never really leave.
Yeah, there was a Doctor Who book recently, wasn't there? Doctor Who lockdown, lockdown book or something. Let me have a look. And there was a number of writers on there. I think Russell was actually one of them. I'm just going to look because on the cover it tells you who wrote for it. So the story's from Chris Chibnall, probably not going to return.
No, I don't think so.
Paul Cornell, very likely. Russell T Davies, obviously. Neil Gaiman.
Ooh, it would be cool to see Neil Gaiman.
Mark Gatiss.
Mm-hmm.
Pink Matthias on there. Stephen Moffat. Vinay Patel.
What else have they written?
And Joy Wilkinson. I don't know. I'll have a look. You've got to keep talking there while I have a look.
No, speaking of books, that reminds me of something. This is getting back to 14th Doctor casting.
Okay.
Do you remember when Russell did the novelization of Rose?
Yes.
And in that, they expanded upon the bit when Rose went to see the guy who did all the research into the Doctor. And he had photos of different Doctors, including post-Eccleston ones. And amongst those, Russell also, I think, referred to a young boy in a wheelchair and a black woman with a flaming sword.
Yes.
Do you think either of those are indicators of who Russell might cast, or do you think that's just throwaway things that he put in?
I think that's throwaway things because he also did a book of poetry.
Okay.
Where there's a number of different Doctors mentioned in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. This dude here wrote Demons of the Punjab, Letters from the Front, and Fugitives of the Doom.
Okay, cool.
And there was another one on there, Joy Wilkinson, but I didn't recognise that name, so I'll have a look as well. Joy Wilkinson, no relation to Joe Wilkinson. British comedian. I recognise. I think Joy Wilkinson. I think we threw her name out actually for what do you call it?
Showrunner.
Showrunner. Actually,
we threw out so many names for showrunner.
They
were all wrong.
The Witchfinder.
Oh yeah.
They were all wrong.
I find it so amusing that we
spent ages.
We threw all these names out and we're like, at least one of these will be showrunner. And then the one that is showrunner was the one we actively dismissed.